Hi, I'm Emma Fowler, and I'm going to be giving us a persuasive speech about the Menendez brothers. Here's my brother, my mom, and my dad. Imagine being a teenager and living in constant fear and enduring unimaginable abuse from the very own people that are supposed to protect you. This was the reality for Eric and Lyle Menendez. On the night of August 20th, 1989, after years of suffering, they took drastic action against their parents. This is about two young men being pushed to their breaking point. In 1989, they killed their parents in Beverly Hills. The Menendez brothers have shown significant rehabilitation and reform during their time in prison. They have participated in educational programs, mentored other inmates. They have suffered so much trauma and abuse at the hands of their own parents. And the source I used for this information was CBS News. Eric is now 53, Lyle is 56. They have been in prison for over 34 years. During the criminal trials in the 1990s, prosecutors made the brothers out to be rich kids who killed their parents just for their money, which is not the case. They killed their parents because they were raped and molested their entire lives, and at that age, you don't feel like there's another way to escape except killing your parents, because not only did the mom know, they reached out to their cousin and nothing was ever done, nothing was ever said. They just acted as if nothing was ever happening, and it was. Their dad would keep the boys locked in their room for hours with them, and the mom would know, and she would say nothing, do nothing about it, and what are you supposed to do? There has been many public supporters where people thoroughly think that they should be released. There has been a new show called The Monsters, and that's kind of the hot topic now. Got everybody talking about what's happening, and now they've realized why they think they should be released from prison. Just what they went through is just something unimaginable, and nobody understands but them. I mean, I'm not saying other people have went through it, but like, it's just something that you can't really wrap your head around. And the source I used for that was biography.com. And then my third source was BBC News. Eric had also wrote a letter in 1988 to his cousin talking about the molestation from his father. And that is what is reopening the sentencing for their trial. I will now show you a video, and you can see.
Two brothers convicted of the brutal murders of their parents are one step closer to leaving prison. Los Angeles District Attorney is recommending Eric and Lyle Menendez's life sentences be thrown out. The brothers were convicted in the 1989 killings of their parents at the family's Beverly Hills mansion. A parole board must approve the siblings' release. The final stop is Governor Gavin Newsom, who could reject the board's decision. Queen City News Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes is here to break all this down for us. But Khalif, let's start with this. What brought us to this point that we are right now?
A district attorney that's able and open to hearing. I mean, the pleas for them to have a new trial, or at least their trial to sentence to be overturned and thrown out, has been echoing for the last few years. Probably kick-started with celebrity status of Kim Kardashian pushing and asking for their release. You add that with a Netflix special or two Netflix specials, and then you add that with their attorneys saying that there's new evidence. So it was a combination of things. But even if you have those combination of things, if you don't have a DA's office that's willing and open to hearing this, it won't go past their office. And so the DA talked about, he really didn't make his decision until an hour before he had the press conference. He said because there was even a conflicting view of opinion within his own office of should they go forward with allowing and requesting the judge to re-examine and look at this case. And so it took a lot of things to happen.
And the new evidence was?
The new evidence, there was a letter that was written that talked about the allegations of sexual abuse and misconduct from the father, not just towards the brothers, but to another relative. And so there was a pattern that was established I guess, more believable to say that what they were alleging at the time of the trial, because remember, they had 2 trials. This case captivated the country. I mean, this was before there was viral, before there was internet. Everyone was glued in. You're talking about 35 years ago. All we had was one television, and you were watching this. Couple right after that, O.J. Simpson. And so multiple types of cases like this were happening. And then you had the one that we just talked about. And so followed by all of these things happening, but it was a different time back then. The way that we looked at sexual abuse victims, the way we used that information for mitigating the types of sentences, it just wasn't a thing back then. It was there, but it wasn't.
I want to talk about another case because many people are comparing this case to that of Gypsy Rose. She is the woman who was released from prison 3 years early after murdering her mother, who allegedly put her through years of abuse by convincing her that she was sick when she wasn't. So are these cases comparable, or are there some big differences here?
I think they're apples to apples, but then they're also apples to oranges. The timing of them, if her case would have happened in the 90s, in the late 80s or the early 90s, I think she would have done exactly the same thing these folks are doing. 35 plus years in prison without any likelihood of parole. But I think the timing of it was a difference. Again, the way we look at the victims, the mitigation is what we call it. You present a mitigation case specifically that they've been sexually abused or some type of drug abuse or anything that's happened, and then you're asking the court, if they are found guilty, to lower their sentence specifically because of the severity of the abuse. That's what happened in her case. It took time for it to happen, obviously not as much time. In the Menendez case, they presented it in the first trial. There was a mistrial because the jury couldn't come to an agreement. What happened in the second trial, most of that information was withheld. It was excluded. It wasn't even brought in to evidence. And so that's why they were convicted, because a lot of that stuff was taken off the table for sure. So I think this case is a good example of how we have progressed with the way we view what happens to people in those situations.
It'll be interesting to see what the outcome will be in this one as well. Khalif, thank you.
And that is the end of my speech.